Hello, everybody. We are live. I am here with Jason, and I want to thank everybody who is joining us live and any of the folks that are watching this after the fact. We appreciate you taking the time to enjoy this conversation with us. It is a beautiful spring day here in New York, and my yellow tulips came up. It started to get cold. I was a little worried about them, but they look happy and healthy this morning, so that's good news. I'm excited to chat with Jason. We were just briefly before this catching up a little bit, and he and I have been in each other's presence multiple times, but not have had an opportunity to have like a really long conversation, which I think is really neat because a lot of the stuff is just going to unfold very naturally because I'm curious about some of the things that I've heard him speak briefly about. So that all said, Jason, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yes. First off, I want to just say thanks. Thank you for having me on here. And you're right. I've been wanting to talk to you for such a long time. So this is great. We not only get to talk, but it'll be recorded. And anyway, so yes. So my name is Jason Ward. I am a life coach. I help men to overcome a lot of their obstacles that they've had in life, and I help them to boost themselves in business, make more money, and have better relationships, which in turn give you a better sex life. Everybody wants all that, right? So that's my focus, and I try to help people to overcome a lot of things to make themselves a better person in general, and that way we can just all live happier, healthier lives.
Yeah, excellent. And I do coaching as well as part of my consultant, but I also do some coaching work and work at helping people to pull down some of those blocks. We all have the blockers. And
Mhm.
I think it's always intriguing to me, right? Coaches coach each other because we all need a person kind of on the outside who's able to take a look at the situation and say, what is a way that you could better move through this that's going to bring you better productivity. It's going to make you have better well-being. And as part of that, when I'm helping somebody else, I find that kind of look back and reflect on some of the things that I've gone through and how did I maneuver through those either positively or negatively, right? What could I have done differently or what did I do that really worked?
Oh
And
yeah.
so that drives a lot of it. Are there some specific things for you that you navigated through that you're like, you know what? I think this is something that I'm going to be able to help other people with because I just utilize this specific skill set.
Well, my whole journey started when I was a little kid. My parents got divorced when I was 5, 6 years old. And shortly after the divorce, my dad had his visitation rights and he was doing that. And then all of a sudden, never heard from him again. So dealing with that abandonment really messed up a whole lot of things for me, and not even realizing it as you're going through your uh, tween and teen and early 20s and all that other stuff. Um, and then I actually lived out near you before in New York, and I was married. That ended, unfortunately. And it prompted me to realize that, you know what, I really need to start digging into myself to get a lot of these things figured out. Um, Come to find out that a lot of the stuff that happened to me when I was an adolescent, it just created jealousy issues. It created like anger, resentment, all this stuff that I was hanging on to that even though I knew that my life was better off without this guy that obviously didn't value me in any way, with him not in my life, I was better off and I could
Mm,
make a life for myself. And I knew that, you know what, I'm going to be better off. I'm not that bad, blah, 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 blah. But I never actually resolved the issues. I never actually went into that time, that moment, those actual things. So I got into, I was doing therapy, I was doing hypnotherapy, I was learning about psychology just so I could figure out my own mental stuff, not even caring about like, oh, I want to be a psychologist. No, I just wanted to figure me out, right?
right.
Going through all this stuff, and I started to realize so much about what was going on with me, And what made me do these things that, when you look back, how they say hindsight's 2020. Well, I'll look back at some of the things that I've done and I'd be like, what the hell was I even thinking to put myself in this position for this girl that, like this girl that I dated? I would do all of these things for her that she obviously was just trying to use me or was manipulating me or whatever, that type of a thing. And it made me realize, oh, I'm doing this because I'm searching for this, because I didn't feel this back at this time, So going through these things and understanding these things about myself, it makes it so I can objectively look at somebody else, see their actions, see the things that they're going through, and then help them to decode everything, break it all down for themselves, understand what's going on and what they need to do to get themselves in the right direction.
Yeah, that's powerful. Well, and I think what you said talking about abandonment, and I think rejection and abandonment, I mean, that can happen in so many different ways, and certainly your specific way is got a different level to it because there's the parental connection that we have, whether a person belongs in our life or not. And even when people that we, like, you came to the realization that this was a person who probably was better off not being in your life because of whatever way that might have impacted your mental health even more negatively. But rejection and abandonment still exist even when we can acknowledge that we don't necessarily want that person in our life because we're not making the choice. And so there's a lot of unpacking that has to take place. And when you're a kid and you're in those formative years and you're trying to sort through who you are and your identity, a lot of your identity comes from your family foundation, right? That's who you are as a kid. That's where your values get formed. And before you start to be able to kind of question anything that your parents might tell you, initially, you're forming your ideas based on that. And so when that gets tossed up in any type of way, it's very confusing, right? Like, who am I if this is not who I am, when I don't really have my own set of standards or things that I want to develop? So certainly that's profound. And it sounds like that even though you knew that you were being impacted by that, it was difficult to self-correct. And, not to be comical about adolescence, but I mean, adolescence, even at its best, right? Even when you're in a situation that is completely structured, is confusing, right? Your hormones are going on. There's a lot of voices telling you what to do. So you're trying to navigate that. And at the same time, weigh through all of these external factors. And I can hear now, like hearing you tell that story and hearing some of the things that I've heard you say about what your goals are when you're doing your coaching and what you like to help people through, you can see that very strong connection with that, is that it's twofold. It's recognizing that you're of value and that it's worth it for you to make that effort and do the things that are going to give you the life that you could have in all of its full potential. And it's also recognizing that the people around you are of value and not defining them based on the standards that were set by people that were really significant in your life that didn't make good choices, right? Because we can do that. We can start to be like, that person reminds me of, and so therefore we start to kind of put the whole box of characteristics there. And so when you talk about helping people with good relationships, that's about self, and it's also about perception of other people. And how do we kind of put those two things together and make sure that everybody in a relationship of any sort, whether it's romantic, whether it's a professional partner, but that everybody's value is being recognized and considered in that. What are some of your favorite ways that you've kind of helped people maneuver? Maybe there's a strategy that you really like to help people when they first come to you and they're like, look, things are not going great, or things are going great, but I know they could be better. What is something that you kind of like kick people off with to get them headed on that transformation journey?
Usually one of the first things I try to talk to them about is what has their childhood, their adolescence, their early 20s even. What were the things that have happened? There was actually a pretty recent client of mine. He called me up. He was going through a divorce. He was a total wreck. He didn't understand what was going on. This is his second divorce. In this case, it was a marriage of 24 years that, like, if you listen to him, it sounded like the most toxic relationship that you could imagine. Like they literally would be, their normal thing would be cussing each other out and going to bed, and to him, that was just a normal thing for them. And he couldn't understand what was going on. I asked him about how his whole life was, his childhood, things like that. And he just said, I had a perfect childhood. My parents loved me. Everything was great. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, well, keep talking to me about it. What all happened? And then he was like, no, everything was great. The only bad thing was when my dad died. What do you mean? Well, when I was 11 years old, he got into a car accident on his way home and he died. I'm like, you got abandonment issues right there. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, your dad died in a tragic accident when you were young. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you loved him. He loved you. And all of a sudden he's gone. That created issues. And we dug into it more and more and more. And he was like, oh, so that's why I couldn't stand my stepdad, even though he was super nice to me. Maybe that's why I always wanted to get into fights every time I ever went to a bar. Maybe that's why every person that I dated, I clung onto them like it was a lifeline, and I wouldn't let them go. And I didn't care anything about what they ever did in the past or whatever, just be with me. There you go. And it was the most clarifying thing to him. And then, so working all through all those things, like going back to that time, helping him to dig through it, helping him to understand all the things that went along in his life, like what made him decide to do this, what made him decide to stick with this person, all these things, it was like, I showed him how, even though this person that you're with, that you're dating, that you're married to, even though they're absolutely toxic, it's the simple fact that this person is in your life and you are desperate to keep them there. Because when your dad died, you couldn't do anything about it, and you're afraid of losing that again. And when we can understand that, these things happen and they all happen for a reason, and there's kind of nothing that you can do about it, and understanding and being forgiving, like it's really easy to hold resentment to things that have happened, even though you might think, you know what, I am better off now than I was then. But like, he would hold on to resentment about that incident, just like I held on to resentment about my dad leaving. Even though I knew, oh, I'm better off without him in my life, I still held on to that resentment, which just messed up everything for me. You can't live to your fullest when you're angry, when you're resentful, when you're hurt. You're always at a much lower level. When you can actually forgive, when you can actually look into it and say, you know what, in my case, I realized, okay, you didn't really truly want to be a dad. And you messed things up, but it's okay. You did your thing. I got life from it. Thank you for that. But that's all okay. If you don't want to have anything to do with me, that's fine. I'm going to still live my life and we're going to be good with it. I forgive you for this. I'm not going to hold resentment. I'm going to move on. And that was so freeing. And that just lifted so much weight off of me that I felt able to go for more of the dreams and the goals and everything, like the relationship that I'm in right now. is the most wonderful relationship I've ever had. I'm not saying we've never had a problem. Yeah, we have our issues, we have our fights, but we talk to each other. We're understanding with each other. We're open to each other, you know? Or when I would live life with resentment and with anger and with frustrations about all these things that I never really actually got truly fixed, I was never open because I always felt I had to be guarded, you know? You have that fear. Oh, you're going to hurt me. I need to protect myself, all this stuff. The only way to live a true, authentic life is to be vulnerable. And even when it comes to like in business, you need to open up. You need to be present. You need to not be all sheltered and closed off and be like, oh, protect myself. You know, you need to go for it. And to go for it, that's what you do to move up the levels. You know, if you own a business, whether you work for a company, you are an entrepreneur, if you own a huge corporation, all of these things, it's just all about worthiness. It's about knowing that you have a place. It's also knowing that you're going to make mistakes and it's going to be okay, that everything can be recovered from, and going all out and making it happen and doing it with love.
Yeah.
Doing it from a place in your heart where you're serving others, where you're taking care of others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hear, you know, the strategy there that you were really talking about, right? I think that we sometimes can mistake the idea of resilience or strength, right, as being just something happened and I'm just moving past it, right? But resilience and strength, in order to really do them to the best of our ability, we have to acknowledge the situation and the emotion that we're feeling. It happened. Things happen, and it's okay to feel anger and feel sad. Those are all human emotions, right? There's a negative association with them. I mean, more anger, right? There's definitely a more negative association with anger than there is of sadness. But again, we think of those as emotions that we don't want to feel. We want to move past. But in order for us to be truly resilient and to be able to persevere, we have to see what is going on inside of us, and those emotions are present, even when we're not acting on them, right? And we talk a lot about that, and it's specifically in social media now. There's a lot more of that openness and owning the fact that we have this wave of emotions. So in order to be able to do that, to address those emotions, you have to think about like, okay, like you were helping him kind of peel back. What is something that, you know, dramatically impacted you in that moment? And I think because his concept of perfect or of happiness was the fact that there was love, which certainly is wonderful love, and it was communicated, but there was, to your point, abandonment. Loss is abandonment. Whether it's something that a person intentionally does or something that just happens, you have somebody significant in your life. And there's, again, a variety of ways, as I noted before, that you can experience abandonment in your life. And so having people understand you were hurt and it's okay to have felt that hurt and it's okay to have anger, and we're going to address that and we're going to look at that, and then you're going to move forward with the growth that took place from there. You learned from those difficult experiences in your childhood. This person that you were referring to, he learned from it. He's been able to maneuver forward, so it doesn't have to be rewritten. We don't have to ignore that, but we do want to take time to acknowledge it and then go on forward and seeing the way that we can push through challenges that we have going forward down the path. And I think that that's the power of knowing that you have overcome, knowing that you will overcome.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, to your point, whether it's professionally or whether it's personally, that's how we level up. By saying, okay, I've had this experience, I've made it through this experience, this was the emotion I felt. How would I apply that learning to situations moving forward? And have you always, at what point did you pivot to kind of doing this coaching? Was there something that, like, had you been doing something prior to that and you suddenly realized, like, wait a minute, this is the thing I want to do? Like, you were talking a little bit about how you kind of uncovered yourself and how you were able to go through transformation and then recognizing that you could help this to other people. Was it something that all along, or I shouldn't say all along, but for years you kind of knew, like, I think I could be really good at this? Or was it really a very pivotal choice, like, I am now going to choose this path forward?
It's funny because I've helped a lot of people throughout the years anyway, just not even thinking about it. And then I think maybe 5 years ago or something, I thought, you know what? I could do that. But I never really did much about it. I just thought, yeah, I could probably do something with that. I mean, I know plenty of things. I could probably do that. I know that I could make it happen. But then it was, I'd say maybe 2 years ago when I was like, yeah, let's put this into motion here and let's kind of like start making something happen here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like I look back now, you connect the dots looking backwards, right? Like I think about my career trajectory and it's been really interesting. Could be its own episode, right? But like you kind of are like, wow, I pivoted, but what I find really interesting and kind of like to dissect with people is that it's not really you're pivoting, but at the same time you're not. I mean, it's all part of your path, right? It's all part of your journey, and all of these pieces make sense. And how what you did before feeds what you're doing now. And so it's like this person inside of you is really just bringing on all of these different types of ways that they can apply the skills that they've always been given. And it's finding the place where you can meet them. So to your point, you're like, wait a minute, this all makes sense. This is something that I can use and apply to helping other people. Now, I know that you said that you're there's some building that's going on right now for you in terms of your business model and the different plannings and stuff. What are some of your goals or your future forward facing ideas that you have about what the next few years are going to look like with this?
So I definitely want to reach out and touch more people. I mean, I am doing one-on-one coaching, but I really need to get out there more. I really want to help more people, even if it's just little bits here and there. So I'm working on getting into public speaking so I can get somewhere with that. Also, I'm in the process right now of working with somebody that he's a current mentor and hopefully soon a business partner, where I'm going to be able to be a facilitator through his ways and what he has going on. It's kind of all I can really say about that right now.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so there's a few things that I'm trying to work on to just try to get more and more notoriety, get more, just get out there, you know. What I'd love to be at some point is to be somebody who is, I don't know if you want to call it be known for, but I just want to be there to just help as many as I can. That's really my big thing. And I know like right now I focus a lot on men, mainly because of the fact that I think that men have been taught a lot of these things with this masculinity thing, and they need to hide their feelings and toughen up and make it happen. And, just don't let it bother you, just whatever. And that in turn kind of makes them a more angry person, a more difficult person to work with, whether it's in a business or in relationships. So I really want to work with men in this case to just, I wouldn't say to make them more feminine, but to just get them more in touch with their actual feelings and to actually process the feelings to make their lives better. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't help women at all, but my main focus is just helping men. But I do want to I truly want to help the world.
Right.
You know, I've seen way too much anger, frustration, divorce, you name it, just abuse. And I know I can't stop it all. I just want to just help as many as I can and create a ripple effect.
Right.
Because if I can help this person here and then they can be a better person to the ones around them, and so on and so on. And then I can help this person, and then this person, and then this person, and that ripple effect will continue. I really want to make that change. I don't even care if I'm known for it. I'm not about the, fame or whatever. I don't care about any of that crap. I just want to see this place be a better place, plain and simple.
Yeah, I feel you there. And exactly. And that's the part, right? That's the visibility. That's the why you get on there. I mean, it's people can't ask you for help if they don't know that you can offer help. Mm-hmm. And so it is a tricky thing getting on there and kind of saying, hey, I'm over here. But I share that same desire as you, that it's done with a heart for wanting to make sure people are aware and hear those messages, people that might not otherwise hear them. And ultimately, there are a lot of us out there saying, I'm going to help you. And so the more we can kind of refer people to each other and connect one another, because if somebody can be helped and I'm not the person to do it, but I can help connect them with the person that will, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people being helped is collaboratively and globally winning. So I think that I feel you there very much and hear that and certainly hope that this not yet to be clearly described partnership that you're working on, that works out for you. I'm confident in hearing.
I'm very confident that everything will be great. I just can't say anything for, give me a couple of months.
Fair enough. I totally get it. You want, and things have timing. You want things to unfold as they're supposed to, announce things when you're supposed to. I think a little bit of anticipation doesn't hurt us anyway. So I'll be curiously following to see how that unfolds. But I think also watching your message develop, right? As the more that we put things out there and the more that we have conversations with people, whether it's a live like this or whether it's our own social media content, we start to refine the way that we say things as we see what are the ways that we can describe what we feel or what we think that are going to reach people, because we're not going to change our message, but we want to find how it's going to best be heard so that you can help as many people as possible. And I think that's, I think that no matter what your industry is or what your business model is, if our hearts are set on how can we help the most people possible, then that's a beautiful thing. Right.
Yeah.
So how would people, if people wanted to get in touch with you and connect with you, whether they want to follow you on social media, whether they want to ask you questions, they want to work with you, what would be the best ways for people to connect with you?
Okay. So on Instagram, JDub Coaching, at JDub Coaching, all one word. I am going to have a website up soon. It's currently being built right now. I just sent a whole bunch of stuff over to the web designer, and that is jdubcoaching.com. So that also in the works, hopefully 2 weeks, maybe a month. That will be soon. Also Facebook, Jason Ward. Anyway, come find me, come message me. You can even send me an email, jdubcoaching@gmail.com. Yeah, please reach out. I'd love to talk to anybody who's out there that needs any type of help, any questions, anything at all. Just let me know, and I'm there for you.
Excellent. Yeah, let's get people on a healthy path.
I would love that.
And then what is one message that you really would like to leave everybody with? People that are watching live today, people that are watching it recorded, what is something that you'd like them to hear? And this can be broad. This can be specific to your personal, professional journey, something funny, whatever. But what's a final thought you'd really like to share with everybody?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I just tell, and I literally tell this to people all the time, and I hate saying literally because I know that's a huge thing, but I really do tell this to people all the time, is just let it go. All this stress that people hold on to about this has to be, this has to happen, this has to whatever, just let it go. Let things happen. Let things come to you. Let go of the stress. It's going to help you physically, mentally, emotionally. Just let it go. And if it works out, it's going to work out. If it doesn't work out, it's not going to work out, and it'll be okay in the end. Just let it go and just allow things to happen.
Yeah, excellent. Live forward, right?
In my particular case, I believe in God. I give it all to him, and I say, God, I know you've
Amen.
got this. It could be the universe, whatever it is that you feel is for you, just let it go to that.
Excellent. Yeah. Let it go so you can live into the beauty, right? You got to move forward. Excellent.
Exactly.
Well, I hope that I'm always confident. I say that that somebody will watch this, whether it was live or whether after the fact, and they will hear some tidbit of this conversation, and it's going to impact their life. And that always, it's funny, but I always say that always jazzes me up, right? Like it's just exciting. Anywhere in the world right now, somebody either now or after the fact is going to hear something that we said, and it's going to impact them. And that really speaks to what we were just talking about, is how do you help people? And you help people by sharing your story and letting them know that they're not alone, that they matter. So I think that's it's always a good thing when we can send that out into the world. So thank you. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody that joined us live or who is joining us after the fact. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week.
And I appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that very much.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.